Hey everyone, I'm Austin from LogOx.
I'm Matt from TimberWolf.
And today we're here to talk to you about an exciting collaboration that we've come up with our two companies here to get some of the issues that we've noticed with other log splitters and try to solve that with this here, the TimberOX Summit, which we're excited to talk with you today about. So let's start here with the beginning of the machine here. We've got this tongue which can go on the front side and then also the back side. It's removable. Maybe you could tell me a little bit more about how this works.
All right, well, you can see it's a pretty long tongue. It's 4 feet long altogether. It's got a 2-inch ball with safety chains, so you can tow it down the road. You know, you want to limit that speed to about 30 miles an hour because it doesn't have a suspension. But with that long tongue, you can turn real sharp, and then you can see it in your mirrors as you're going down the road. And so backing up is pretty easy compared to most log splitters. And then it also allows you to use this tray here with the tongue installed. And it just snaps into place there. And now you can still have it hooked up to your truck, your tractor, whatever you're using. Be splitting firewood, loading right into the bed of your truck, all hooked up.
And we were initially coming up with a design here. The folding tray table allows this to be as compact as you see it. And so as you can see on the bottom here, it's got these 2 tabs that come through. They swing in and out as you need them. And that provides a lot of support for this main tray table right here as you're moving your log, your split pieces across.
Well, you see now once we lifted this tray up here, we've got really big work surface and it's really high up. I'm about 6'4", Austin, you're about the same. You notice we're not bent over. We're just right here. Smooth work surface, you can operate all day real comfortable.
When you're a single operator, when you're working with this, what you're going to find that's nice is a lot of other log splitters, you know, have a rail system, it'll have something like that, and it's just going to fall off the other side. And so you're really doing twice the work because you're doing your initial splits and you're reaching over and grabbing the other one, especially if you're working alone. So with this, because you've got this large workspace right here, you can just have somebody either loading this up or you're loading it up yourself, get these nicely staged, you're operating the log splitter, and then those pieces are just going to come right through here and they're going to sit here. And then you can easily slide them back because this is all one single plane surface. You can easily slide this right back, finish up your splits, and then push them that way. So it's really nice from a sort of a workflow perspective. And one thing that's unique about this here is this is a TimberWolf design. Now this is called a step wedge, right?
That's right.
Yeah, would you walk us through what this does here?
Yeah, so you notice on the front side of this, it's got a 1-inch step out on the bottom, 2.5 inches. So if you have a big gnarly piece coming through here, instead of attacking that whole front face of the log to try to split it all, it cracks the edge first, just like you would with an axe. If you're familiar with splitting rounds with an axe, you got a big piece, you hit it right in the center, nothing's going to happen. You come to the outside, it relieves that strain here, and then it goes through the big split. So that kind of amplifies the tonnage that you have available to split right here.
Yeah, and it's a nice tall wedge, and so as it breaks that moment of inertia, like Matt was saying, is it just sort of moves the rest of it through, and because this is so tall, it's not running up on it. So this works in concept with this, which is unique to this product here. And this is the 360 no slip design. And if you see here on the camera, these edges to it are actually not only cylindrical, it goes around, so that there's no area where this is going to slip up the face of this, but this is actually fairly robust, that it's going to bite right into the pulp of that wood, and it's going to lock it in place, so you're not going to have the wood running up the face of it either. And between those two pressure points here on this, it really splits wood nicely, and you're not going to have to worry about that wood sliding out. The other thing too is that this right here, we talk about the central cylinder in a second, but this right here forms a nice channel, so the wood is just kind of riding right through here, locked into these 2 places here, and just moves right through nicely.
Yeah, self-centers, especially smaller rounds, you don't have to hold it, and you put it in there and it runs right through. And then again, these depths, that's machined right into the face of the steel, an 1/8 inch deep.
Yeah.
And so if you have a crooked cut, which if you get some twisty wood you're always going to have, instead of kicking off to one side, it bites right in and it'll send it right through. Even 45 degrees, it'll just push on through.
Talk about the controls a little bit here. One of the things that we didn't like about some of the other log splitters that we've used and other ones on the market is where the controls are located. A lot of times it's up, it's higher, you're working it here, you're working it there, you're leaning over, and it's just not very ergonomic. So what we wanted to create with this is to be able to have the controls in an area where your elbow is basically at a 90-degree angle and you're operating it like this, you're not reaching. So it's just very natural. You're using one hand to kind of guide the wood, get it in place, the other hand to operate the controls. And Matt, can we talk about that for a second?
Yes, we have our control. You can see here, there's no hose or anything visible. All that's protected underneath the steel deck. You got a simple valve, you lean into it, that pushes it away from you. You got to hold it out all the way through the split, and that's for safety. Now when you're done splitting, hold it there, now that detent, so it's going to go back by itself. As there's nothing back here to get caught, it's safe to do that. Frees you up to pick up another block or mess around up there, and then it'll automatically pop out the end of stroke. And then it's all smooth back here, so you don't have any danger of breaking hoses and all that good stuff. So real nice position. You can kind of notice where I'm standing in the operator position, it's kind of just natural. I'm not moving my hand all the way up here. I'm just lifting right to here, boom, and I can go pick up my next block. Or we'll kind of talk about the elephant in the room. There's no cylinder on this splitter, right?
Yeah, yeah.
See, I can just walk around the back side here, pick up a block from my pile, put it on, and I can run it all from here. That's thanks to our cylinder in-beam design that we have going on. So the cylinder actually sits underneath this tray. You have a tube in the tube design, so that increases your wear area. So you have the tube riding in the tube, so you're not going to wear out your beam. And then it allows you to have a compact shipping, compact storage in your house, and then in operation. It doesn't sound like much, but if this was a regular cylinder, you'd have a 30-inch beam sitting over here.
Sure.
So anytime I wanted to go over there, I'd have to walk all the way over here to get around. Now, I'm just sitting right here. I can work right off my pile, so it doesn't really matter which side you're working on. Big advantage of the in-beam cylinder design.
Yeah, that all compounds over the course of doing it for several hours too. Yeah, it doesn't seem like much, but when you're really doing that over and over again, you're really saving a lot of time there.
Yeah, and then the added benefit of, you know, less expensive to ship this box truck because it sits on a regular pallet when it's all folded down. And then if it's in your shed, your barn, your garage, whatever, super compact storage, a useful work environment, and it can, you know, kind of hide out of the way. So.
Yeah, well, let's show them that real quick. So we can show them here on the bottom. So hey, where the heck does the piston come out? And you'll see this on the video, but the piston is going to come right through here, and that's shielded by the tray table that comes up like this. Okay, so that's going to be shielded, so you don't have to worry about that coming out. As Matt pointed out, there are no hydraulic hose farms on the top to have to worry about. And it's just a very nice, clean appearance. But then just as easily as you put it up, this right here comes down. This tongue can pull out, and this can either come around to the backside. We can show you that and come around the backside.
Slide it right in.
So say you've been working all day, and now you've got yourself the great wall of firewood here, and you don't have a way of pulling this machine out, so you can just move this around to the back like Matt's doing there, hook it up on the backside, and then bring your tractor or ATV back there, and then be able to pull out from the backside and get that away from your wall of firewood that you've compiled in front of it. So that's a nice feature. We recommend road towing it on the opposite side. It's the most stable there, but just having that as a feature to me is nice. Gets it out of
trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Makes it nice to be able to pull it around depending on what the situation on the ground is. So let's talk about what the real horsepower behind this is, and that's the workhorse behind it, is this Kohler Command Pro engine. Everything that we sell with LogOx is 100% made in the United States, and so everything on this, all the components that we could possibly source from the U.S., we did, including the hoses and right down, to the Kohler engine that we have here. It's made up in Wisconsin. And talk a little bit about this, because I think that this engine right here is really a key feature of this machine.
Well, underneath here you see you got a 400 cubic centimeter, 14 horsepower Kohler single cylinder engine. It's got pull start or electric start, and that's standard on it, but if your battery dies, you can always pull it to start.
Yeah.
Easy access, operator side's right here, so your on off switch. You've got your throttle here, and then you have your choke over here. So, you can turn it on and off as you're running or throttle it down to save fuel. Power-wise, 14 horsepower. What does that mean? Well, the cycle time on this,
about 4.7 seconds.
Yeah, 4.7 seconds. So that's all the way out and all the way back in 4.7 seconds with a full, we're at 39,000 pounds of splitting force. So really, if you can get the log on the table, it's going to split. And that's because of the Kohler engine hooked up to a 22 gallon per minute high-low pump. So it'll do 22 gallons per minute to 1,000 PSI, and then it'll downshift to 8 gallons per minute up to 3,000 PSI. And that gives you your full splitting potential.
Yeah, and I understand too that the quad clean is optional, but we have it standard on all of these. And what does that do for the machine, Matt?
It's a cyclonic air cleaner, so it's kind of a mini version of like an air cleaner you'd seen in like a sandblast booth. So it centrifugally pushes the heavy particles to the outside and drops it out, so it doesn't plug up your air filter.
Yeah, and that's key when you're working in a kind of a dusty environment like this. Or, you know, you've got bark, you got the dirt that comes off it. There's a ton of dust. Anybody's worked in, especially if you're working in a wood yard, where you're doing this kind of commercially, there's a lot of dirt and dust. So having that's key. You know what's cool about that too? The rep was telling us about is that this can actually pop off here and turn around and work off of, in the cold weather environments, work off the heat from the engine there to help that run a lot more smoothly.
Yeah,
so that's a unique feature to it as well.
More power. And then we've done a few things, you know, for maintenance and stuff. You have a hole right here to change your oil out. There's a drain plug right there. And then obviously the air cleaner's right there, so super easy to maintain. If you come around this back side here, we can show you that pump that we were talking about. So this is the cast iron pump right here, 22 gallons per minute high, 8 gallons per minute low, hooked up to a bell housing to the back side of the engine. We have a 70 gallon per minute 10 micron filter. That filters hydraulic oil, which sits in this tank back here. And then up here, you have your battery, so it's tucked up out of the way, fully protected from the weather, but still easy to access if you ever need to jump it, no covers or anything like that. Kind of a nice feature.
Yeah, and one of the things that you know is proprietary to Timberwolf and you guys make in-house is also your regen valve too.
Yeah, we
Now,
have.
you're going to see a regen valve like this, the one he's about to show you here, on a machine this small, but they make them in-house there, along with making their cylinders in-house, so amazing amount of quality control there.
This aluminum block right here, that's the regen valve. So what that does is as the cylinder's going out, you know, you have oil coming out of the front of the cylinder, and that's from this hose right here. So as that oil's coming out of the front of the cylinder, a standard machine would just dump that right back into the tank. But what this valve does here is called a counterbalance valve. It takes that fluid and it actually pushes it back into the back side of the cylinder. So as you're pushing fluid out the front, you're putting more fluid in the back, so it actually accelerates it. So with that regen valve there, you're imitating, instead of 22 gallons per minute, you're getting 44 gallons per minute all the way through. And that'll maintain up to 1,000 PSI before it loses effectiveness and actually goes to a standard valve just to make your highest splitting force. So you'll notice in operation, depending on the size of your wood, you'll go really fast through some smaller stuff, and then on some bigger stuff, it'll go fast to work, it'll slow down for a second, crack that log, and then instantly accelerate back up. And that's the regen valve in play right there.
Yeah, and so if you know anything about what Timberwolf does in the really high-end firewood processors, that's something that you'll see on those larger processors. And because they make them in-house, we were able to put that on this machine with us as part of the collaboration. So we're really excited about having that kind of technology on this machine, which really puts it in the class by itself, and why we're able to hit, you know, that 4.7 second cycle time with the kind of power that we have to give the performance that this machine has, with those kind of touches that, you know, that Timberwolf brings to the table as a manufacturing partner with decades of experience with making these super high-end firewood processors. So we're really excited about having all of that technology incorporated into this little compact package here.
Yeah, well, thanks for all the kind words there, Austin.
Yeah.
And now let's talk about the cylinder, because you can't see it, but it's pretty much the heart of the machine. So this has a 4-inch cylinder with a 3-inch rod. The rod is really large, and so that allows as it comes back a lot faster too. So that also helps in the speed, because when you're going backwards, you're not doing any work. So yeah, the big rod helps with that, and then just the strength and the longevity of that rod pushing through. You know, the bigger the rod, the less force you have on your wear ring. So
yeah, you guys make all those in-house, right?
Yeah, we buy the pipe, buy the rod, cut it to length, machine it, thread it. Yeah, we do everything. Yeah. Right in-house, weld the cylinder up. And the hydraulic tank here, you got a site level gauge. When it's cold, it should be right about the middle. You know, it's not super critical, but you don't want it too high, because as the oil gets hot, it expands. So if it's much higher than that, it'll start coming out of your filler breather in a hot summer day. So it's supposed to be right in the middle. That'll also give you your temperature. Everything we have on the machine is rated to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. And the tank is big enough, you know, it's 14 gallons to be able to absorb the heat from operation. So yeah, a really hot day, 110 degrees if you're down in Georgia and you feel like splitting firewood, you might need to watch the temperature, but for the most part, 80s, 90s, it can run all day. So
yeah, we were down in North Carolina with this thing. It worked pretty well for us down there too. So
yeah, that was a warm day.
That was a pretty warm day, yeah.
And then hoses, we use Continental hoses, really high quality Continental fittings. Most of the hoses on the machine, I believe all of them actually, are number 12. Number 12, that means 3/4 of an inch, 12/16. That's the hose numbering system. And on our cylinder, we have 1-inch ports into the cylinder. So that puts really low back pressure, helps with that speed and also keeping a cool running machine. So
yeah,
all throughout,
great American made product.
Hoses everywhere, and should last you the life of the machine.
Yeah, so there's some additional accessories that we have with it. So we have a 4-way wedge, which is unique. Kind of a free-floating design, and what's nice about this wedge, and Matt, you can talk a little bit more about it, but be able to create either 4-inch or 6-inch split pieces, depending on which side you orient it on, with easy to add. There's no parts, there's nothing to adjust. It just slides right on top here, and Matt, you can show them that. I think it's a great design along with that step wedge.
Yes, if you notice, these horizontal fins aren't right in the center. That allows you 2 different sizes. So when it's this way, you slide it right up on it, and that gives you 1 size of wood here. And if you want some bigger pieces, take it off, you just flip it over, and now if you're doing boiler wood or something like that, boom, you can slam them through. Or if you just want to take it off altogether, there you go, throw it on the ground, do what you want with it. It's real easy, no monkeying with pins or anything like that. So
I think that's a great option for folks who are splitting up a lot of firewood. On the back here, we've partnered with a company called Sawhall. We've worked with them for a long time, another great American-made company, for a chainsaw sheath. So as you can see, we're out here in our wood lot in Vermont, here at TimberOX, and so when we come down here into the woods, oftentimes what we're doing is we're bucking up those log rounds kind of as it goes. So we're processing that green wood, right? So bringing our chainsaw in the woods is handy. So what we're going to have here is an optional Sawhall chainsaw sheath attachment. What's nice about that is that it's the new 360 lock one from Sawhall, so you can pop on your chainsaw, it never comes out of the sheath, pop it off. And they actually have a wall mount, so if you have it in your garage or something like that, you can put it right onto your garage mount. Or if you have another vehicle or something you want to put it on, your tractor or wherever else, you can move it there. You obviously want to take out your chainsaw from the sheath before you operate the machine, but for just transporting it down to the woods, it works great for that. The other optional thing we're going to have is we're going to have a bottle jack for the front of this as well, for folks who want to have that available as an option, just a hand crank standard jack.
Yeah, it's not terrible tongue weight, but it's about 100 pounds, so sometimes it's nice, especially by yourself, to be able to use a jack to lift it up. So.
Yeah, so we'll have that optional as well. So one of the things that you'll notice about this, because like we were talking about earlier, it is so compact. We have all of the hoses underneath, nothing is in your way, nothing is back here you have to walk around. And we don't have the engine that's sitting up here, making a lot of noise right at the operator's basically ear height. What's nice about this is because this is a nice solid piece of steel right here, it's blocking a lot of that noise and vibration and smoke right here and taking care of that. But you have it underneath here and it's kind of tucked away. So how do we reach that to refuel it, Matt?
Well, we provide this little pump system here with every machine, and real easy. You put one end that says in and out, so you put the end into your gas can, and then you just put it in there, and then you put your out end there, and then you pump it. 12 pumps of this fills up the tank. So in reality, it's a lot less messy than working with a funnel. Even on a normal machine, you don't have to hold the 5 gallons of gas in the air. So
that's very precise too. You got every single time.
Yeah, you're just one pump at a time. You go in, you know how much fuel you put in it, and it's a pretty handy system. Maybe not as convenient just dumping gas in, but these new gas tanks anymore, so it's probably actually easier. So
yeah, when you're also not holding it up in the air trying to just measure that. So that's
right.
I much prefer that system actually.
Then so that engine there, and the quiet factor might not sound like much, but you can really run this machine. It's so quiet you can actually have a conversation while you're running. So if you're running for 4 or 5 hours, it actually is a lot less tiring to not have that really loud
sort
engine
of buzzing away
right
in your
there
ear, just putting it right here. Yeah. And then of course all the exhaust is deferred underneath the machine as well.
Yeah, the exhaust is blowing out that side of the machine on the back of the engine.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just nice from a user experience point of view, and everything that we did with this machine was from a user experience. We wanted to, essentially set out to create the ultimate machine that we would want to use ourselves for splitting firewood. And so everything from the big work surface to the ergonomic controls to the engine that we're using and everything else. One of the things that we have here is obviously the TimberOX, and so this is my company here, and the TimberOX hauler allows you to grab a log round off the ground, feed the splitter without bending over and hurting your back. We found it's actually a 93% reduction in back strain and a 76% reduction in arm strain when you're using this tool to do that. And so what we added here is the Kohler holster typically goes on your hip, but for this, you can grab a log round, throw it up here, and then holster this real easily right here on the machine. It stays right here by your side until you need to pick it up again, operate your controls, pick it up, and then you're able to grab it and work with it again.
And then we also provided a couple other places. So this comes in the crate, the bracket itself, and it's got 4 bolts. You can put it here, 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 or here. So, you know, kind of fit your best need, where you want to put it, where you feel most comfortable, and you can put it wherever you want. So
yeah, no, that's great. Give people the option, especially if you're working with a partner or somebody else. It gives you the option of where you want to have that. So whatever.
Or hell, if you want 2, you can put 2 on there.
You sure?
So.
Yeah, you sure you could, for sure.
And then. Yeah, so why don't we fire this up? We'll send the cylinder out, and then let's take a look at the cylinder.
Sounds good, yeah.
And look at the cycle time, that kind of stuff.
Sounds
so
good, yeah.
Fire it up again. We talked about it's got a pull start and an electric start. You got right here, you have your fuel on and off. So you want to make sure your fuel is on. That's all the way towards the engine. When these go down the road, you want to turn your fuel off. When the fuel is on, it's a gravity feed system for the carburetor. So if you turn your fuel off and then just let the engine kill itself by going out of fuel, that's going to prevent your carburetor from gumming up, and just really good practice. And then your choke, to start it, you want the choke all the way up if it's a cold start. Throttle, that's over here. So you got full throttle and idle. I like to run just under half to fire it up, let it warm up for a few seconds, and then, you know, the machine is set to run at full throttle. So you're going to get your best performance and splitting power at full throttle. So once it's there, we got our fuel on, and then, well, let's open up, make sure we have fuel in it. And yep, we have fuel in it. Put that back on there. And then just take the key and fire it up. Once it runs for a few seconds, slowly back the choke off. And we'll just let it warm up for a bit. Bring the throttle up. Now, this splits here pretty quick. Now it's normal for the detent to not work until it warms up. Then if we look under here, you can really see how that whole system works. So this whole tube, which call it the push tube, goes in and out of the frame. So that is all 1/2-inch plate. And then you can see the cylinder on the inside here, 3-inch rod, and that's fully protected. You never see the cylinder at all. And then there's no pinch points on there. If you look back here, you can actually now see the cylinder. So that's sitting right there inside the frame, and the tube comes around the cylinder. So you can look down there, and there is the cylinder. There are some grease points, and especially early on in owning the machine, it's pretty important to grease the slide. And that is on both sides. You'll see the sticker here. Notice grease point. You'll see there's a Zerk here, and then there's another one right over there. And that just puts grease on the bottom of the beam, and it works its way, you know, up and down the whole beam. And recommend to do that daily, just a few pumps, and it's good to go.
Now, is that something that a homeowner can easily get access to? Are you getting a grease gun, or what would they do with that?
Yeah, just like a simple grease gun. You know, any auto parts store, even Lowe's, Home Depot is going to sell one. You know, tube of grease is going to run you a couple of dollars. You don't need anything expensive, just the cheapest grease you can get your hands on is all you need. It's just, you know, you got metal and metal in contact. Over time, that grease will work into the steel, and you'll need less and less, but, you know, just good practice to put a little grease on it.
All right, so now we've walked everybody through the different features and benefits and all the unique elements of this. What do you say we split some firewood?
Yeah, let's put the 14 horsepower test, see how fast we can do her.
Let's do it. this is the woods where I grew up, harvesting firewood and helping split since I was probably about 4 years old. And I definitely know what a nice piece of firewood looks like that's going to burn well and fit nicely and stack nicely, and that's what this really creates. It creates nice, if you're in the business, sellable firewood that's very bundleable, very low amount of waste. And you were telling me that you were actually in the business for about 15 years. What did you kind of look for in firewood when you were trying to sell it commercially?
Well, obviously, many splits, kind of the more you split it, the more money you get for it. Problem is, most commercial splitters, they might have a lot of power, but they're real slow, and then they don't have a lot of that working surface. That's really the game changer with this machine. So here, you kind of saw in the video, we're able to split that wood and never really pick it up, just kind of play like shuffleboard with it and really slam it through. So at the end, you get really nice firewood with minimal waste, either with or without the four-way. Yeah, there's a little bit of resplit, but the cycle time on that is just about perfectly matched, so that resplitting isn't hurting you. You're not waiting forever. As fast as you can move the piece, the splitter's ready to go. Yeah. And a stack like this, whether you're bulk selling it or bundling it, this makes perfect bundle wood. And with a splitter like this, my opinion, versus a 6, 8, 12-way wedge, you're going to have higher quality and then way less waste. You're looking at 1 or 2% waste with this versus a 12-way wedge where you'll get similar firewood. You're getting 15-20% of chaff and junk. So dollar per dollar, this is much more productive machine.
Yeah, one of the things that you notice in the video, I'm sure you'll see as well, those larger rounds, right? It's not falling off on the other side. So even when I was solo operating, or you were even helping me there, by having it just sort of stay there, or even be able to, as Matt was saying, be able to slide it around, you're not having to waste that time afterwards, go over and picking them up and doing that resplitting because of that large tabletop.
Smooth work surface. Yeah. Sliding is much easier than picking up and like fighting it. It's just very easy slide, and kind of a game changer in my opinion on production of firewood, whether commercial or even for your own fireplace. It's nice to have well split firewood, not to resplit it. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's a pretty stack of firewood right here. So
yeah, I'd say so. Yep. I'd say so. Thanks everybody at home for joining us and going through all the features and benefits of this new machine. I think you're really going to like it.
No, thanks Austin. Appreciate all your help with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for having fun in the woodlot with me today.
Yeah, absolutely.